From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the morning news for October 9th, 2025. These are the stories we are reporting at this hour. Senate Republicans voted down legislation Wednesday that would have put a check on President Donald Trump's ability to use deadly military force against drug cartels after Democrats tried to counter the administration's extraordinary assertion of presidential war powers to destroy vessels in the Caribbean Sea. The vote fell mostly along party lines, 48-51, with two Republicans, Senators Rand Paul and Lisa Murkowski, voting in favor, and Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania voting against. It was the first vote in Congress on Trump's military campaign, which, according to the White House, has so far destroyed 4 vessels, killed at least 21 people, and stopped narcotics from reaching the United States. They claim. That's the emphasis right there. You see, because some of those boats were merely fishing vessels. The War Powers resolution would have required the president to seek authorization from Congress or from Uncle Fester here before further military strikes on the cartels. Meanwhile, world leaders are praising the Gaza peace deal. World leaders have praised the peace agreement in Gaza brokered by Donald Trump. Argentine President Javier Milei applauded the deal Wednesday, calling it historic, and said he would nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney expressed relief that hostages will soon be reunited with their families and called on all parties to implement the agreed terms swiftly. What about the 2,000 Palestinians that were killed simply trying to get to internment camps, essentially? What about those, Prime Minister Carney? And on Thursday, New Zealand's government welcomed the announcement of the deal. Foreign Minister Winston Peters said Israelis and Palestinians have suffered immensely and that today is a positive first step in bringing that suffering to an end. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi also welcomed the agreement as a major step toward calming the situation and achieving a 2-state settlement. We'll see if it happens. Turning to the United States, a former Wyoming library director who was fired amid an uproar over books with sexual content and LGBTQ plus themes that some people complained were inappropriate for youngsters and who sought their removal from youth shelves will be paid $700,000 after settling a lawsuit. Terry Leslie was fired by the library system director in northeastern Wyoming's Campbell County in 2023, 2 years into the book dispute at the library in Gillette. Leslie sued last spring over her termination and reached the settlement with the county, officials said Wednesday. I do feel vindicated. It's been a rough road, but I will never regret standing up for the First Amendment, Leslie said. A major coal mining area on the western High Plains, Campbell County is among the most conservative and bigoted areas in one of the most conservative and bigoted states, aka Wyoming. The county denied Leslie's claims. Only Leslie's performance, not the dispute over the books, played a role in her dismissal. Right, sure. The county argued in court documents, and yet they still lost. Turning to other news, retired Justice Kennedy laments coarse discourse of the Trump era and its effects on the Supreme Court. That's right. Retired Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy of the Obergefell v. Hodges decision from 2015, look it up, said Wednesday he was troubled that partisanship seemed to be creeping its way into the court and that the state of political discourse in the country has gotten so vulgar and vile that he worries for the country. Oh, yes, perish the thought and clutch the pearls. The tone of recent opinions bothers him more than the outcomes of cases, Kennedy said in an interview with the Associated Press in his court office in advance of next week's publication of his memoir, Life, Law, and Liberty. The tone of recent opinions bothers him more than the outcomes. Tell that to the people that suffered through Mahmoud v. Taylor. Tell that to the people that are going to be suffering through the conversion therapy cases pending before the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, you know what, Justice Kennedy? We're glad you're retired. Hope you enjoy it. The justices have to resist thinking of themselves as being partisan. Yeah, right. Tell that to Justices Brett Kavanaugh, Slippery Slope Alito, Justice Uncle Ruckus. Yeah, you know what? No, we're done listening to your bullshit. In our current discourse, it seems to me partisanship is creeping its way into the court. It's been doing that ever since you sat on the bench, moron. He has declined to identify any justices or opinions. Well, that's kind of him. But at another point, he returned to the personal nature of some court opinions. Of course, when you disagree, you criticize the other, but you criticize the opinion and the reasoning. You don't criticize the author. Yeah, right. Okay, you know what? Justice Kennedy, you spent too much time wearing a robe, sitting in the Supreme Court. You never got out among the people, and therein is the problem. But anyway, that's what he said during the nearly hour-long interview, and that point seems to be eclipsed. Some of the recent opinions are attacks on your colleagues, on the judges. I was astounded, very worried about it. Like, again, you know, you can clutch your pearls all you want, but from members of Congress who use the four-letter F word in public to President Donald Trump, good for you! No, I'm sorry, that's not what Kennedy said. Kennedy said he is routinely put off by what he is hearing. And that's news at this hour. If you're watching our news videos on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, and Alexa. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.